So welcome everyone to Upping Your Game, the Mindset of Leadership with Brian Wood. I want to go through, I'm Cynthia Wasco. For those who may not know me, I will be sort of teching today's presentation. I will apologize ahead of time for Jennifer Tersigny. She is actually on the road with her family doing some vacation time and is currently in a pseudo remote location. And so she's going to try to jump on, but there's a good chance she may not be able to with being a little more remote right now. So, but thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And some quick tech, like I mentioned before, this is a webinar setting, so you do not have access to talk or use your video, but we will open that up at the end if you have a question for Brian. Also, if you scroll to the bottom of your screen, there's a chat feature, and then there's also a Q&A feature. So if you have a specific question that you don't want to forget or you want to ask in real time while Brian is presenting, please type in that question in the Q&A section so that it doesn't get lost in the chat if people are talking amongst themselves or commenting. It'll pop up for me and Brian, and we'll both be able to see that question in that Q&A section, and then we can answer it in real time. So I think that's it as far as tech goes. We are recording, so if you are unable to stay for the whole time or know people that weren't able to make it today, this will be up on the Raise the Bar YouTube page by tomorrow. So definitely have people check that out. All right, well, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Brian Wood.
No, I'm just kidding. Everything is good with the tech side, right? Everyone's a comedian, right? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. My dad jokes are nonstop. I apologize for that. I'm Brian Wood. I did want to thank Cynthia and Jennifer for this opportunity and the stage. It's so appreciated. And I'll also say this, karma is something else, because it is about 118 degrees here in Mesa, Arizona. And during the winter months, all my friends back east, I made all these inappropriate jokes about it's so cold here in Arizona, it dipped under 70. And now I am paying the price, ladies and gentlemen. So my background is scattered, but it's really connected to one thing. So just the short version is I've got 30 years of experience in corporate America. I've got experience as an agent with the NBA, WNBA, and FIBA for overseas assignments. I've worked with professional sports teams. I've also done work with the Humanitarian Coaching Network, American Express Leadership Academy. All of the stuff that I do is really connected to impact, and that's what I'm most passionate about. So I thought we could go over a couple things, and one of them is the game plan. So my intention is to just go over stuff with you. The stuff includes pictures and some tools, stories, strategies, lots of mistakes that I've made, lessons, but they're really all related to leadership and the mindset that can either serve us or work against us. And interestingly enough, the things that we're going to be discussing today are really connected to nonprofit leaders, for-profit leaders, athletes, former athletes, those that are leading their personal lives. So pretty much everyone. And the other thing that's important to mention is that we're really all leaders by either choice or default. So let's jump in with a quick reminder, and the reminder is this, and it's all about the, it is all about the ripple effect. And so we are designed, we were made for greatness. We each have talents and we each have gifts, and the people around us, maybe our jobs, maybe even the world might try to convince us otherwise, but greatness is really not a nice thing to do. It's our responsibility, and it's our destiny as leaders. So a lot of that comes from the room that we're in, the room that we choose to be in. That's so important. So this is actually an image of our summer home in Switzerland. And what we like to do is get the family up there, get away from the heat in Arizona, and really just get our mind in the right place for leadership. And that's not true. I'm just making stuff up, right? That's not, I wish I had a place in Switzerland. That does not belong to me, but it's a pretty cool looking room. The whole idea, in all seriousness, is to question yourself. Who's in your room, right? Who's in your space? Who do you surround yourself with? The idea is to really draft the right team. So if you're the smartest, most positive, most talented person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Find the room where you have to fight like crazy just to keep up with the talent. That's really what it's all about. You want to be the worst house in the best neighborhood. And why do you want to do that? Well, it's because the thoughts that come from the people in that room and our surroundings, those thoughts create a certain level of energy, if you will. So thoughts turn into feelings or emotions, which lead to actions or results, and in some cases, inaction. There's several examples, but I want to give you one, and this is a study by Dr. Sugarman. It's called The Neuroscience of Peak Performance. And he concluded that our thoughts contribute to our performance. And our brains really can't tell the difference between what we think and reality. So if the thought is, I hope I don't spill coffee during that interview, guess what happens? Chances are I'm gonna fall apart, right? But if the thought is different, if the thought is something along the lines of, hey, I know I'm about to dominate today. It's already happened, right? In my mind, it's already happened. I've already visualized it. I've incorporated sounds and sights and even smells. Maybe it smelled like rain that day when I really just killed it on the track or whatever the sport or the event was. So when I previously dominated, that's what I'm really anchoring that situation to. Or if I didn't have those kind of performances, I could just make something up. Again, our minds can't tell the difference between what we create, what we imagine, and reality. So it'll also, our brain can also get in our way because it can suggest safety over excellence, right? It can convince you, no, you've got to hit that snooze button, as opposed to going big and bold. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But we've got to be able to leverage our brain to work for us and not against us, because our brain is there to protect us in a lot of ways. And sometimes protection doesn't always serve us. Sometimes protection results in mediocrity. All right, now let's talk about the vision. There's a creepy little vision for you. So vision is it involves a couple things. First of all, it's got to be optimistic. So when I say optimistic, let's start with that word optimistic. First three letters of the word optimistic are what? OPT, right? And that's op. So the point is that optimism is a choice. We choose how we show up as leaders. And the vision is really about describing where we're going. Again, big, bold, and courageous. It's telling my story and how we're going to get there. So this is kind of connected to imagination and thinking big and courageously. And that's more along the lines of divergent thinking. Divergent thinking is more imagination, almost like a childhood position, not the convergent, conventional kind of thinking. And when we're looking at visions, it's got to be more on the divergent side, leveraging imagination and creativity. And so that involves our thoughts and our habits and our behaviors, right? You've got that vision. And now the idea is simply to align those thoughts, habits, and behaviors with the desired outcome. The point here is that we're either moving a little closer to our end game, our desired end, or we're moving further away. And here's one behavior that we all need to be aware of as leaders. So what this represents is the fact that you can't light yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Probably a terrible analogy since it's, like I said, 118 degrees here, but sometimes as leaders, that's what we do. Right? I want to serve so much. I want to take care of everyone that we neglect to take care of ourselves. And this really speaks to the idea that you get on a plane and the flight attendant tells you, in the event of an emergency, what do? You grab the oxygen mask and you save yourself. You save yourself first. Then you can serve others. But you can't serve anyone if you don't take care of yourself first. So a lot of that is connected to self-care. And if you had to do one thing, you had one draft pick, what are you going to do in terms of taking care of yourself? Whatever that is. Maybe it's going for a walk, or saying a prayer in the morning, or lifting weights, or journaling, whatever it is, but you've got to take care of yourself, and you've got to take care of yourself first. If not, it's just not sustainable. All right, we've got another disturbing image for you. No additional charge for that. And this is about negativity, and not so much negativity as it is the reaction to negativity. And what this represents is someone shows up at your front door and says, "Hey, I got this muddy glass of water. I'd like you to take a sip of it." And your natural reaction is, "No way, no chance. I'm not doing that." But sometimes when we're surrounded by negativity, we take a sip of that dirty water. And so the idea is to recognize and understand that we have the power to say, "No, I'm not interested." Right? When you show up in that space, "I'm just not interested," I have the power to decline that negativity. And then there's a couple headstones here, and what these represent. The first one, "Here lies Jack, a life wasted creating Excel spreadsheets." And then this one, "He watched sports." The idea here is that we don't have a spare life in the bullpen, and we've got to go after this with passion. The way we lead, the way we live, the way we bet on ourselves. Sometimes we'll go after the wrong things, and if we're not careful, we can chase someone else's version of happiness and success, right? Only you know what makes you happy. I had a great friend who said that they were raised in a family where they said, "You're either a doctor, a lawyer, or a disappointment." And so that person ended up chasing those kinds of things. So we just have to be really careful that we live and we lead and we learn with urgency, and we go after our identity as opposed to someone else's. Some people will collect hours at work like it's a badge of honor, so we want to avoid that. I love this quote, and I love the words that are in here, just so powerful to me. Hope, dreams, imagination, courage, dare. I just love the way that is. That's about how we show up and how we should show up and bet on ourselves. And here's a quote from just a piece of a quote from Marianne Williamson. And her thought is that we are afraid of success as opposed to failure. So it's interesting how sometimes the closer we get to success, the more we sabotage ourselves. And we also have a tendency to shrink, right? I'm going to shrink my game, the way I show up, because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. How crazy does that sound? The reality is, by living and leading from a bold place and shooting for something shooting for perfection, shooting for something that's beyond our comfort zone, we liberate others, right? We give others the permission to achieve and strive for greatness. So that's a really powerful passage. There's another one in here that I like for a number of reasons. Sade, I'm not sure if we have any Sade fans on the webinar, but one of her songs is I can't think of the name of the song. I think it's "By My Side," and she says one of the lines in the song, "You're so much better than you know," which that really resonated with me. Just the idea that we're doing pretty good. Right, we're making some plays, we are changing lives, we're doing good things for our family and for ourselves, but we're even better than we know. That's just a fascinating kind of a concept. So I thought I would just share that with you. Let's just let this marinate. Let's just drink this in. Yeah, that is Sade, right? And I also have some, at no additional charge, I have some bonus footage of my wife, Vivian. She was super excited about me creating this presentation in this manner. So that was always good. Always good to have you in my corner, Vivian. All right, so let's take a look at a couple things as we continue the shenanigans. It's not about inspiration, right? It's not just about inspiration. You need to be inspired. We need to inspire people as leaders. But without action, we don't really get anywhere. right? It's about someone coined this phrase years ago. I love it. It's called inspiration. I've got to inspire people to take action. Without that action, we don't get anywhere. So some of the things that we're going to do, the action steps we're going to take, is we're really going to dig into a couple different levels of leadership and energy and consciousness and energy potential, however you want to term it, but the mindset that will serve us, the mindset that can get in our way. So let's dig into that right now. The first one is, this is the victim. And I'll say this, all the different levels of leadership, we all have it. And there's pros and cons to each of them, even level one. And level one and level two, just to put things in context, that is catabolic. That's essentially, there's a place for it sometimes, but these two levels are catabolic, meaning that they make us individually and collectively, the people we're around, a little bit worse every day. So when you're the victim, what does that look like? What does that feel like? There's worry, anxiety, guilt. Does anyone feel guilty for anything that they've ever done? Of course, right? But the longer we stay in that space, that mindset of guilt, the mindset that we can't do anything about our situation, the worse we are. The longer it'll take us to achieve our potential. Let me give you another example. In the video form of level one, the victim. This is what that looks like.
Oh, that's not good.
Eat this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's nothing else left to do, is it?
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
You said you can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. You said you can fix it.
So you get the point, right? Take action, do something when you're in that victim mode. Is it really true that you can't do anything about your situation? You may be completely justified. You tore your ACL, a grant didn't come through, your car broke down, but what are you going to do about it? Okay, the next level is compliments of Dwight Schrute here, is the fighter. And the fighter is not in a gritty, determined way. The fighter mentality, that mindset, is more in the blame game. There's blame, there's animosity, there's resentment. If it's always me, if it's always someone else, then it's probably me, right? So it's always the economy and the weather again, right? I'm talking about the weather. It's always something else. It's never me. And so the idea, when you're in that level 2 mindset, it's better than level 1, because in level 1, you've just kind of given up. I don't even care anymore. I'm just throwing the blankets over my head, turning off the lights. But level 2, at least you're fighting, at least you're passionate about things. But the pros and the cons to these, you can get a lot of stuff done in that level 2 space as a leader. But that's not a sustainable approach. I'm not going to play this because this audio is kind of weird, but what this represents is, I'm not sure if we have Marvel fans out there. Captain America says to Bruce Banner, "Hey, now might be a really good time for you to be angry." And Dr. Banner's response is, "That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry." And then he goes to full-on rage. And that's another benefit of of level 2 mentality, right? Not to take on the villain, but in the event, it makes sense to tap into that as needed. You just can't live there. So in the event someone breaks into your home, great time, a huge opportunity to tap into your fighter mentality mode, but you just can't live there. So let me just move over to the, you got to check that out on YouTube. It's one of my favorite clips. So let's take a look at the triangle offense and the four corners offense. So I'm going to just spread this out. We'll go over each of these. We'll start with, just remember the triangle represents J-E-T, jet, right? Judgment, ego, and taking things personally. So judgment, we constantly judge ourselves and others and circumstances. And it's kind of like that Oprah Winfrey approach. She says that we've got to run our best race. That's all we're trying to do, run our best race. The more time we spend looking to the left and to the right, how is this person doing? Are they catching up to me? The slimmer our chances are of achieving our personal record. E is the ego, and ego can be great. I want to be better. I want to be great. I want to be amazing. I want to be better today than I was yesterday. Great. The negative part comes up when I don't invite someone to the table who doesn't think exactly like me, and that will get in our way. I'm going to go through this kind of quick. Actually, we're going to come back to this, the GAIL. We'll come back to that later in the presentation. But all these things here are the things that can have a really good chance of putting you into that that level 1 or level 2 mindset. Oh, and I neglected to mention the T. So T is taking things personally. And that's almost is aligned with interpretation. And I know a lot about this. I grew up in a place that we took everything personally growing up. And sometimes there's another story there. So when you're leading, is there another way to look at that? We'll get to interpretation a little later as well. So this is all part of that equation. This is the stuff that can put us in that wrong kind of a mindset. The P represents the physical part of your being. When you are stressed, when things aren't going well, be aware of this. I'm not going to ask for anything in the chat box, but you're welcome to share. Where does it show up on you physically when you're in a stressed out situation? And for me, for years, until I really got into this and studied this, my shoulders would creep up and my jaw would lock. And like that ended up being the tell that I've got to think differently. I've got to show up differently in order to lead more effectively. And then the other, the V/Y, that represents a couple things, our values or our why. And that's really associated with if you were going to, if no one were going to pay you money, no one were going to pay you any attention, what would you do? What are you most passionate about? What are the things that you're doing in this world that is connected to the why behind your intention? So it's that Simon Sinek, I think, is the person who said that people don't care about what you do, they care about why you do it. So if you are in conflict with your why, you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, you're working a job that's not aligned with your why, that could put you into that level 1, there's nothing I can do about my situation, woe is me mentality, or my boss, this company, this is the worst. That's the kind of thing that can put you in that space. And then the other component here is the B to the second power, and all that represents is bounce back. Bounce back as fast as you can. Now, it's not up to me to say, you know what, you ought to bounce back from that particular situation in 15 minutes, a day, maybe give it a week. No idea. It's a personal thing. So there are experiences that people have been through that means that they could bounce back. It could take them decades to bounce back from. But the idea is to get out of that space as soon as possible. Again, back to the sports analogy. I tore my ACL. Right? I'm devastated. No one's expecting me to be super excited about that. But how fast can I get to that place of recovery? How fast can I get myself to a not a positive thinking, right? Just everything is perfect and rainbows and sunshine, but positive psychology. Positive psychology is more aligned with, oh man, this sucks. I can't, oh man, tore my ACL, all the work I put into this. Okay, now what? All right, how do I get back? how do I bounce back from this as soon as possible, whatever that timetable is, right? You have a flat tire, to put it in a different context. You have a flat tire, you're not going to be excited about that. Of course not. How fast can you recover? How fast can you get to a space where you realize that, oh man, maybe that flat tire prevented me from getting on a Highway 10 and creating and running into a school bus, whatever the case may be. So that's the stuff. That's kind of like the model we need to be aware of. I'm going to go through these other ones quickly. So 3 through 7, these leadership levels are anabolic. They're not perfect, but they have there's the ability, you have options to make yourself better and make others better. So the rationalizer, level 3, the higher you go in levels, the more access you have for that leadership mindset. So level 1 is the rationalizer, could be manipulative, it could be, but it is ownership, right? It could be coping, it could be some other things along the way, but it is ownership. It's not anyone else, it's all about me. All right, we'll just keep moving on to level 4. And I see a lot of this in the nonprofit sector. Level 4 is the caregiver. Don't worry about me, right? I'm completely okay. Meanwhile, everyone is lined up to get your time. And at a certain point, if you operate in this space exclusively, then what happens is you end up heading down that path of, okay, when's someone going to throw me a bone? Right. And maybe that's that level 1 kind of a mindset. That's what I mean. When the wrong things happen and the wrong reactions happen, they can push us back into that catabolic state of mind. So that's one issue with level 4 that we need to be aware of, and also understand that you can't fix everyone and everything. So you got to give yourself permission, and that self-care that we talked about is also big with overcoming the negative aspects of the caregiver. And then there's level 5. It always comes down to coffee and the weather too. But level 5 is the optimist. And so what's the opportunity here? So a level 5 reaction, let's say I'm on a flight and the plane diverts. I was supposed to go to LA and now I'm in Vegas. A level 1 reaction to that would be, this always happens to me. I knew it. I knew this stuff always happens to me. A level 2 reaction where I'm the fighter, that's now I'm in attack mode. It's Southwest. They do this every time. They're the worst. But a level 5 approach is more of, all right, I'm in Vegas. See if I can take in a show. Maybe I can score some dollars at the blackjack table. There's something here. What can I do about it? So again, player gets hurt. Your grant didn't come through. How do I move into a different direction? Something went awry in your business. What do I do about it? It's not what happens, it's what you do about it. And that mentality can help us out for sure. Level 6 is the visionary, right? This is synthesis. So synthesis really involves the fact that my mindset is there's an element of me in you, right? We are connected. So if I'm getting screamed at by an irate customer, say, my level 1 reaction would be, oh, they're always yelling at me, so hard for me. Or level 2, and I'm exaggerating, obviously. Level 2 is, well, I'm going to show this guy the procedure, and I was right and you were wrong. I'm going to fight back. But a level 6 kind of mentality is more along the lines of, wow, Brian is really upset. I remember when I was that upset. Oh yeah, I had to put my dog down. That was rough. Maybe Brian's going through the same thing. So you can relate and you can lead better where other people fall into that catabolic trap. And then level 7 is way out there, as indicated by the graphic that I chose. This is just extreme gratitude, right? When you're in this space, you're operating with unconditional love. Maybe you're thinking of an instance where if you can think about a time when you were just so grateful. You're watching a corny movie with your significant other, or you're at a diner at 2 a.m. with your friends and you just couldn't stop laughing, or whatever it is, you can tap into that. So in level 1 and level 2 surfaces, you can tap into a different place. The whole idea behind this is to correct ourselves. When you head down that path, when you recognize you're in that level 1 or level 2 mindset, get out of that as soon as you can. But think about the power of doing that for your personal and professional circles, supporting them and influencing them to get out of that space. And then for the audiences that you serve, whether it's a sports team, whether it's a nonprofit organization, whether it's a huge conglomerate, think about being able to expand that influence to everyone in your work family. All right, so we're going to segue into a couple other things, and this is called social style. So social styles, it really represents our behaviors and our approaches and our preferences. And so it really pertains to two elements. There's assertiveness and there's responsiveness. We'll get into that in a second, but the assertiveness represents the extent to which others perceive you as trying to persuade or convince. So our level of assertiveness is based on several things. How quickly do I operate? Do I move at a fast pace? Do I move at a slower pace? Do I ask more than I tell? If I'm more assertive, I'm going to tell more frequently. If I'm less assertive, I'm going to move slower, and I'm going to ask versus telling. So then when you look at responsiveness, that's the other element. So responsiveness is really about making the decision between, well, as a matter of fact, same thing, it's about perception. But it's the decision for responsiveness is about, do I go to foster that relationship more frequently, or do I move towards my to-do list, getting things done? So let's look, there's 4 quadrants, and we'll touch on each of these, but let's go back to that horizontal line. Again, that represents how assertive I am. And we're all going to land at some point on that line. Less assertive, I am going to ask a lot more than I'm going to tell, and I'm going to move slower. And then the more assertive I am, that's really going to be connected to more frequency, everything from my body language, everything to me telling more than asking, and moving at a faster pace, and then if you look at the vertical line, so that's going to represent the decision. We come to a fork in the road, and we decide to go either responsive to the relationship or to the task at hand. So if you look at all 4 of these, precise, right? Look at how that falls on the quadrant. Less assertive, more geared towards the task. That's a very analytical kind of personality. You look at to the right of that, that's the power. Again, look at those 2 lines. Less, the power person is less responsive because they're task oriented, and they're also more assertive. That person is more driven. That power person is more driven. People person, that's the amiable kind of a person, right? More focused on the relationships and less assertive. And understanding this in ourselves and others really helps us lead with a better leadership mindset. And then the last one is passion. So if you look at how that's broken down, the passion person is expressive, right? This is the person that gets distracted by the shiny object or the squirrel, right? They're more assertive, they're faster paced, they're going to be telling more than asking, and they're also going to be connected to the relationships as opposed to the task. So there's tons of connections to each of these. How do you recognize someone? How do you lead someone? How do you manage someone? How do you hold someone accountable based on their social style? We're just going to look at the primary need and the benefits that motivate. So on the power side, right? The power style, the primary need is, as you can see, if I'm power, I want independence, control. I want to make decisions. And the benefits are autonomy and just get out of my way, hands-off style. Passion. Primary need is I want achievement, I want glory, I want the stage, and I want energy. So when you look at that and the benefits that's connected to that social style, it's about challenge, collaboration, public recognition. So this is what's important on the recognition side as you're leading people, and this is really connected to the mindset. You can have great intentions. I'm going to bring this person up on stage. They're going to say a few words. They're going to be super excited. I'm going to recognize them for doing an awesome job. So if that's the passion person, you nailed it. Way to go. That person is loving that moment, the spotlight, the microphone. But jumping down to precise, if you have that analytical personality, someone who's really connected to logic and not as much emotion, That's a nightmare. If I'm a precise personality, I would rather eat glass than come up on stage and say anything. So anyway, that's what that looks like. So let's go down to the next one is people. The primary need is inclusion. I want connections and sharing. The benefits that will motivate me, friendship, time for interactions, and I don't want conflict. Anything with conflict, I don't want anything to do with that. So back to the precise personality. The need for me is security. I want the status quo, all right? Information, time. So the precise person is interesting. The precise personality is never wrong. And they're never wrong because they never make a decision, or it takes them 6 months to make every decision. I need more information. I need more data. There's nothing wrong. Let me just quickly jump onto the benefits. So the benefits that motivate the precise personality: predictability, minimal risk, right? I am risk averse, no pressure. Don't put pressure on me. If you want to watch a precise personality's head explode, say you need an answer, you need a decision right here, right now. They don't like that. So that's what that looks like on those styles. And the thing to keep in mind is there's nothing good or bad about these styles. We need all of them, right? We need all of them. So if you fall into the passion category and you take the position that, why can't everyone be passionate like me? Well, you're never going to get stuff done. If you're surrounded by a team, a circle, a room of just passionate people, you might not ever get anything done. Super high energy, that's amazing, but you're not getting anything done. You need that precise personality to balance things out. And I only wish that we had some kind of magical way to really understand what our individual social styles are. And here we have it. So take a look at this. And you can work on this now, but we have very little time, so I'm not going to wait for everyone to get that done. I'll come back to that in a second. So I would suggest that you either write down this site or you take a picture of it, use as you see fit. So what this does, this is the communication styles estimator. And if you remember when we were kind of like pointing or referring to those two lines, we're going to fall at some point on those lines. So it could be an extreme social style. Maybe I'm way out there and I'm absolutely a people person, or maybe I'm closer to the middle where I've got more of a sample of precise power and passion along with me. So that's what that looks like. When you go through this, it's about 15 questions. It's just for you. It's just for your information. So you're going to answer those questions. And when you're done, it'll give you the opportunity to push enter. I can't remember. It's been a little while since I've used it. And it'll show up that, okay, this Brian is a power, precise, people, or passion. All right. So that's the first step. Now here's the next step before I chime in and get Cynthia's help. So now you've got your social style. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could get the social style of someone else? This is that, right? So once again, take a picture of this, write it down, whatever you need to do. There's 2 steps in the process. The first one is that initial link will give you, that's how you show up. For the most part, it's a hunching tool. It's not perfect. That's how you show up. That's your category. Okay, great. Now you take that information, have that handy when you fill out this same 15 questions on behalf of someone else. Information doesn't go anywhere, but feel free to put in X or blue or red, whatever it is, when the tool asks you for your who the person is that you're evaluating. Now you're going to answer those 15 questions as if you're Brian. Okay, that's how Brian normally handles that. When you're done with that, again, same 10 to 15 minute process. Then it's going to say, all right, based on your social style, we'll say precise, and based on Shelley's personal style, that's passion, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. Because our intentions are usually pretty good, but they can get us into trouble too. So I asked Cynthia to help me out by just going through this process, and I'm hoping, Cynthia, you'd be able to just share a couple thoughts on what you discovered through yourself, this tool, and the person that you were playing with.
Sure. All right. So when I did it for myself, I was precise. My social style was precise.
Precisely.
And oh. And then the other person was passion.
Okay. So when you're dealing with that other person, what was a point or two that they said, this is what you should do when you're communicating with them to communicate more effectively?
Sure. So to communicate more effectively, it said to resist the urge to get into all the details, relax, and let the conversation flow. Yeah. Oh, and be open to new ideas and changes in direction while providing some structure as needed.
Great, great. And if you look at that quadrant, thank you, Cynthia, I appreciate that. If you look at the quadrants, precise is opposite from passion. So precise shows up typically with a different kind of energy than the passion person who's coming in with their hair on fire. So you've got to be authentic. You just have to get a little bit closer to speaking the same language. Okay, thank you for that. I want to segue into a couple things connected to sports and some of the things that I've learned and seen in the world of sports that really relate to leadership. And I'll say this, that clarity is one. Clarity is one of the first ones that I've seen. So I've seen a lot of players show up with great intentions and they say, you know what, I want to help kids, or, you know, away from the court, I want to help people. We need more than that. Right. Well, let's get some clarity behind them. Let's go back to that vision. What exactly does that mean? So that's one thing that shows up with your leadership. What's your intention? What does your clarity look like? Real important. Chances are you're going to have an off night. Here's another lesson, right? So not a big time agent, but I have been an agent and I have gone to tryouts with people and I've represented people. So the point is, when you're having an off night during a tryout or as a leader, what else can you do? Because that's really the opportunity, right? When you're stumbling, when you're having a bad night, you're not making one shot. You were 0 for 22 from the field. All right, that's the opportunity. You can go to level one. Oh, this is the worst night of my life. Or you can say, you know what? They're going to see me being my best in the worst of situations. They're going to see me hit adversity right in the face. So that's something that can definitely work to our advantage. Understanding you've already won. When I face adversity, I was involved in a scandal. All right, I'm going to take ownership and I'm going to move on. And that's how I'm going to handle this situation. So that's some of the things on the briefly on the sports side. I do want to spend a little bit of time on the military time side. And for any of you who have served or have family members who have served, I thank you for your service. One of the teams that I worked with brought in a Navy SEAL. Unbelievable, so powerful. I just can't even tell you. And some of the lessons that I learned from him were the following. One is meal to meal. So the Navy SEALs have this ridiculous thing called Hell Week. And during that week, I think that you run, I want to say over 100 miles. If you win every single exercise in the competition against the other team members, the most sleep you'll get is about 5 hours in the entire week, right? But here's the thing, meal to meal. He said that was my mindset. If you show up with, I got to run 100 miles, I'll only get like 30 minutes of sleep a night, it's over. Your body shuts down. But if you can convince yourself that, wait, I'm getting stronger, I just have to make it to the next meal. If I get to the next meal, I recharge. Once I recharge, I'll be good. That's all I have to do. So it's thinking big, but it's also thinking small. He talked about micro quits and macro quits. You do the micro quits, I'm just going to hit my snooze alarm or my snooze button or phone button, whatever. And I'm going to give myself 10 minutes of sleep. That's a micro quit. And that leads to bigger quits. So stop right there. Quit the micro quits. He talked about Charlie Mike. That was another one. Continue the mission. Hard on the hard on the problem, not the person. The other lesson was he talked about contingency plans. So it's not if something goes wrong, it's when it goes wrong. What are you going to do about it? If you have a plan in advance for when things go south, you're going to be in a much better place as opposed to leaning on hope, because hope is not a plan. All right, I told you we would get back to Gail, and this is probably no one remembers this guy, and actually before my time, but this is Gail Sayers, right? So we're going to go back to Gail. Remember that? The G, the A, the I, and the L, and the L, and the G represents gremlins. You have to look that up. Many of you don't remember gremlins either, but the gremlin is that irritating voice in your head saying that you're not good enough. It's that imposter syndrome, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. You'll embarrass yourself. Remember in third grade when you stuttered? Remember that time? Like, that's what that gremlin does, putting doubt in your head constantly. So when that shows up, again, that's something that can put us into that level 1 or level 2 catabolic mindset. We've got to squash that gremlin. And the way we do that more times than not is say, wait a minute, what's the worst thing that can happen here? Right? Wait a minute. Oh, so someone's going to laugh at me because I messed up that speech, or because I screwed up some line, or because okay, I can live with that. Did anyone die? Did anyone? No, okay, I can live with that. So that's the gremlin. And then there's the assumption. A is the assumption. So we tried that before, right? In the business world, we tried that before. Or just to represent this picture, in 8th grade, I asked someone out in 8th grade. True story. She said no. So I'm never going to ask out anyone again. Right? Business, sport. I'm never going to try anything again. I'm just going to stay on the sidelines because no, I failed back in 3rd grade. I don't want to try anything anymore. Right? So that's the assumption. And so when you assume that you're going to win or assume you're going to lose, you're probably right. Same picture, but interpretation. And the interpretation part of the Gail is that, well, she probably didn't want to go out with me because of my clothes. So I'm going to head down a strategic path, get the wrong strategic path, get a whole new wardrobe. I'm going to spend all kinds of money, resources, all that stuff, when maybe there's another story. So with leadership, sometimes we tell ourselves the wrong story. Is there another story? Is there another possibility? Is there another interpretation? Roger Bannister, back in the 50s, I want to say 54, was surrounded by these brilliant people. Actually, every smart person said, you can't break a 4-minute mile. It's not possible. Your heart will explode. Not humanly possible. So it's never been done until it was. And this is connected to the limiting beliefs. So we all have these limiting beliefs. And so it wasn't possible. You can't break a 4-minute mile until it was possible. And after, in the history of time, no one broke a 4-minute mile. After it was possible, I think the record was broke again within like 46 days. So it ended up being, oh, wait a minute, that is possible. So what are the things that we tell ourselves, right? What are the things that we tell ourselves it can't be done when the reality is we can do them. We put limits on ourselves. And real quick, and I've got the name of the book is called The Coffee Bean, which I'm going to talk to for a minute here. A Simple Lesson to Create Positive Change by John Gordon and Damon West. Really good book. I had to write it down because I knew I was going to forget it. But what this represents, the shortest version of this is, we have chaos. Chaos is the boiling water. Will there ever be a time when we don't have chaos? Probably not. But what are you going to do about it? How are you going to react? You can react like bugs, right? You can be the carrot. And what does a carrot do when it's put in boiling water? It gets soft and it gets weak. We don't want that. We don't need that. We can also act like the egg. And so this is almost like that level 2 kind of mindset, right? I'm not going to forgive. I'm not going to let anyone in. I'm hardened from the inside out. And you put an egg in boiling water, that egg is hardened from the inside out. And so that's not the leadership we want either, right? Because we need other components of leadership, everything from empathy to compassion to motivation. We just don't want that hardened leader that doesn't have any kind of emotion. But, ladies and gentlemen, the coffee bean. You put that coffee bean in boiling water, you put that coffee bean in that chaotic situation, that coffee bean makes the most magical drink known to man, and that is coffee. So that's the idea. Even when there's chaos, you just need to make the room a little bit better. So be like coffee, don't be like carrots, don't be like eggs. A couple other things as I wrap this up. Adam Amp, I'm throwing all kinds of old school stuff at you. You're going to have to be Googling all night long. And so the ant represents avoid, the ants, not the aunts. Avoid the ants, A-N-T. The people that are angry and the people that are negative and the people that are toxic, because that stuff can be contagious. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility to move mountains and to make plays. And we each have talents. We each have gifts. And just like the Spider-Man referral here, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So that's really it for me. I'm going to leave my contact information with you, but I will say that any feedback you can give me on my presentation or the things that we talked about would be greatly appreciated. I take your feedback very seriously, so I can assure you that's exactly what will happen there. And that's me. Thanks a lot, everyone. I appreciate it. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Brian. If anyone has any questions, I believe you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. Or if you just want to type it in, that's fine as well.
And Cynthia, I apologize. I can't see the chat box because I think.
Oh, no, it's fine. I have it up.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think anybody wrote anything.
Yeah.
No, we had some sound issues before. And then I typed in those 2 GAM Guru websites for people.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
And well, everyone has, what is your favorite mindset book? Adam asks.
Oh man. I like Outliers. I think that's Malcolm Gladwell. That's one that sticks out. There's so many. And I've really leaned into podcasts because you can get so much done in a shorter amount of time. But I like that one. I do like the Coffee Bean just because of the simplicity. It gives some really good examples of how you can make the room better, how you end up showing up like a carrot or an egg. So those are a couple that come to mind. But thank you for that, Adam. And for what it's worth, Cynthia, I do better with text messages than I do with emails. I'll get to them, but sometimes they fall into that email abyss. So feel free to text me anytime. You'll never offend me regardless of the time or the day.
So if anyone has any questions later on that they think of, you can just text Brian.
Help yourself.
Does anyone have any other questions, comments? Okay, well, everyone has Brian's information. This video will be up hopefully by tomorrow on the Raise the Bar YouTube page. If you're not already following that, please find us and follow. And the presentation everyone will get an email that will also include the presentation if you wanted a copy of any of the slides. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. This series, Upping Your Game, is sponsored by Raise the Bar Consulting, and we specialize in comprehensive fundraising, organizational alignment, transitional leadership, and interim executive solutions. And if you'd like to learn more, you can find us at raisethebarllc.com. So with that, again, thank you everyone for coming, and find us on YouTube later. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you. Have a good one.